Okay, so this is the video guide for the fluctuation area under tier 2. Firstly, before we start, I will not be covering the stuff that's under basic things to note, as you can read all the answers here to the commonly asked questions. So make sure you do actually read these, as they are important to read before you start using the area. So basically, when you come to this page, you will see there's a premium fluctuation area and there's the default which you're on when you press on tier 2 fluctuations. So when you first launch it up, you'll have all these enabled. So now they're all enabled, it will look like this here. So firstly, it's a lot of data in front of you, so you might want to make it a little bit simpler for yourself. To do that, hide some of the columns, okay? So the ones I suggest you hide are the 3-hour average, the 24-hour average, the price trends, and that's about it for now. So now you've hidden all 3 of these areas, it will look a little bit like this. So you have the current price, the low point, percentage from low point, high point 12 hours, 24 hours, movement percent, okay? So if you're using the default page, which is just when you click on fluctuations, this area is filtered and it's updated regularly with the new cards, but it's filtered to show you cards that have a movement of 5% or greater, okay? The reason for that is they have to move 5% from their low to their high, okay? So if they're not more than 5%, they will not display on here, okay? Because that means that you can't even break even from low to high, which means there'll be no trade to be made there. So these cards on here are the ones that at least move to break even after tax, okay? So you have 2 options between this. You can use this area, or you can use the premium fluctuations area. If you've got a little bit of a lower budget, you might want to use this area because there's some cheaper cards on here. However, I do recommend doing fluctuation trading, so just use the premium fluctuation page. For this example though, to start with, I will start on this page. So firstly, when you come into the page, ensure that you're on the latest update. So you can do that by refreshing the page. So you can see on the latest update, because the site just updated as I ran an update for the purpose of the video. Typically it updates 30 minutes to 1 hour every single time. So you have a market status here, and the market status is telling you if the overall market status is looking good, no warnings are required, then the market's fine right now. If alternatively it says something like the market's crashing, please allow flexibility, which you can do at times, then either avoid the page or aim to buy below the low point further than what we explained in the video, okay? Depending on the situation with the market. So when you're on this page, you have the option to filter by headers, right? You have percentage from low point, and when you click this, it will go low to high to low and low to high, okay? So the ones that are percentage from low point, if the percentage is 40%, that means that the current price is actually 388 and the low point is 232. So it's way, like, they're nowhere near their low point right now, okay? Whereas if you click it again, you'll see these ones are in the minus and they go up to they just go upwards, right? So you can see here that the current price is less than the low point. So essentially there might be a deal there, okay? Now why I say to use the premium fluctuation page is because on that page, it only shows you ones that move more than 9.5%, because something like this at 5.9%, if the low point is 229 and the high is 242, let's say you aim to sell for the high, when you sell for 242, you're only going to get 229,900 coins. So buying at the low isn't good unless you snipe the card. So if you're looking at icons overall of fluctuations, you may want to use this page and just pay attention to the movement percent unless you're getting a good snipe, okay? What you can now do is, again, we'll go to the premium fluctuations because I don't actually think you'll use this area too much. However, the same concept applies, okay? When you come onto this page, this is cards that are filtered above 50,000 coins in value and the ones that have more than 9.5% movement, okay? So you can see here all these cards move well from their low point to their high point, okay? Again, I've got areas hidden because when I'm using it for certain things, I might only show certain columns, okay? On the page load, when you start up, it will look like this. with a price trend as well. But again, as I said to you, just hide a few of the columns that I don't recommend that you'll need too much, which is the price trend, 24-hour average, 3-hour average. Keep the version, keep the current price. That was not there because I was doing icon trading with this page. So when you first load the page up out the box, refresh it again now quickly. You're going to see when you load it up, it's automatically set with the ones at the top that are closest to the low point right now. Like this is already set in order low to high, okay, when you load it up. So you can see that these cards here are most likely to be where the deals are. Typical concept of fluctuation trading is to buy at the low and sell at the high. Again, there's a few things you need to check when doing this. So when you first look at a card, say that you catch the update that just happened, okay? What you can do is go look on the market for these cards and see firstly if they're on the market at their low, okay? So for this example, we'll go to FIFA. We're going to look for that Vieri that was there for 108 apparently. So you're going to put Vieri in. Wrong player. Can never spell the guy's name. There we go. So it was 108. So he's not there anymore, he's sold, but there's still a 110, okay? So we can still use this as an example, right? The card's still near his low point, so I've added it to my watch list, okay? The one that was there for the low has sold. However, now we've just got an example where the card's close to the low point, will still work with this, okay? So now what you need to go and do is, before anything, you need to work out where you're going to sell this at, because you can't just assume that every card will sell at their high point. You have two different high points here this year. You have a 12-hour and a 24-hour. The difference with this is obviously, this is the highest point the card's been in 12 hours, and this is the highest point the card's been in 24. Some cards' high point before could have been from 2 AM in the morning when it was nearly midnight the next day. So obviously the odds of that happening again is over a 24-hour period is quite a long time to wait for a fluctuation. Whereas using 12 hours means the card's more likely to fluctuate at a quicker speed, okay? So we're looking at the Vieri. The high point is 119. If we go to the sold prices, which is how you're going to find out if you can sell for that price, you're going to go to the sold price and you're going to be looking for common sales at or around the high point, okay? This is if you're going to know you're going to be able to sell the card or not. So you can see we're looking for 119s, 120s, 118s roughly, because obviously the high was 119. So you can see there's a 119, another 119, 120, 117, 117, 123, 119. So you see that he regularly is selling at that high point, right? So now you know that you're going to be able to sell for that price because he's regularly selling there. It's not just a one-off thing, is it? It's regularly happening. So you know you can sell for 119. Work out how much you'd actually break even there. So if you sell for 119, after tax, you're going to receive 113. So if you bought at 108 at the low point, you're going to make yourself 5,000 coins because obviously 108 minus 113 would equal 5,000. Other way around, 113 minus 108. So 5k profit there would be good. The way we now work this out, a lot of people make this mistake, okay? Because the card's 100k and 5k is 5%, that's a good deal, okay? You're doing a 10% trade roughly from the high to the low. And any card on here will be that case if you sell at the high point and buy at the low point, okay? Obviously make sure you can sell for the high point though. You can see 9.68 movement, which would obviously be 5% or 4.68% profit, 5% EA tax. So that's a decent trade there, okay? Now if you were to do that with this card, say, you see the same example, yeah? It's still only 10% profit, or 10% movement roughly, but you're going to make 15k here because you're spending more on the card. 251 would be the low, and 280 would be the high. So if you buy this, the card costs you more, and you're making more out of it. You wouldn't do this card here for 5k profit, because obviously it costs you double the price. If not, you could just go and do 2 Vieris. So again, you just go check if that card was on the market. But as we're looking at the Vieri still, you saw there was a 110 on the market. The 108 had sold. That's not the end of the world because they can sell. You can compare price like this on the card for a few minutes and see if anything pops up. Or to save more of your time, add it to your watch list like I did because I know he's still low. And essentially go through the list of players. So we'll go back onto that fluctuation page. I look at another player. So we'll look at pap in now, okay? So you're showing at 130 and the highest 143, okay? So now what you're going to go do, go check firstly is the pap in on the market for the 130. You can see there's 2 on the market, one for 127. So I added it to my watches to start with. Again, it's not a rush situation, but now go to here again. And you want to see, can he sell at that high point on a regular basis, right? Now, things you need to be cautious with when doing this type of trading is cards like this can be quite volatile down to SBCs and stuff. So when 6 PM content comes out, these cards may be volatile to be affected due to the content. So the reason I can tell you this card's down right now is because for Sheriff Elite, there's been a hero pack added to the code, I'm pretty sure. So everyone's selling hero cards thinking they're going to drop because they will when the SBC comes out. People will pack the hero they have in their team. They then sell the one in their team, causes more supply to the market, and the demand doesn't change. If anything, demand lowers as a lot of players pack it through the SBC. So you can see here, you're looking for how many times this card is regularly sold at the high point. However, you can see a lot of the sales are 130 right now, yeah? And you can't see any 143s really. There's one for 140. You can't look at one-off sales because that doesn't really count. Trust me, you need to sign something that regularly sells. 140. A lot more of my... like the highest common price I'm seeing is 135, 136, roughly. Like 135, 134, 134, 136. So I'm roughly thinking 134 to 136 is where this card fluctuates to right now, okay? I don't think you'll be able to achieve the high point because of the circumstance with there being a hero pack. So you now need to work out how much would you receive after tax at 136. Because in this situation, the card hasn't had sale history recently at 143. It probably has in the past 12 hours, but again, referring to the content or knowing that leaks are coming, like the leaks that are being rumoured to come out, you need to consider these things. So you can see here you'd receive 129 after tax. So if you were to buy at 127, you're only going to make 2,000 coins, which isn't a good deal, right? So now you've worked out, if you're going to sell for 136, you need to buy it and make at least 5k to 6k profit because it's about 5% of the number. Again, if the card costs you 250k, you'd need to make about 12.5k profit, which would still be 5%, okay? But the more the card costs, the more the profit should be, okay? Typical rule is it should be 10% from the buy and sell. So 10% of this number is about 123, 124, roughly 123. So you need to buy a couple K below the low point at what it was on the market for 127, which is now sold, okay? But you could sit on the card like this, and again you can compare price and see if another one pops up for 123 or 124 because you worked out your sell, okay? You can also check bids like this. But again, rather than just sitting on one card and hoping, add one to your watch list, which we already did. So I've now got a Vieri and a Papin in my watch list, knowing they're both near the buy price of what I'm willing to pay because the low there was 108. I know I can buy at 108 as well because he sells for his high. Whereas I know the Papin, I might not get the full high point, so I need to buy a little bit lower than the low point, okay? Because we check the sold prices. So again, we're now on 2 cards that are being monitored that we know are low right now. Go back to the list. And we'll look at Robbie Keane, for example. We'll go through a few of these about keep switching now. Type in Robbie Keane. And you can see there's one on the market for 251 right now. So that's the low point right now. So we know the card's there for 251, which is the low. And now we need to see, does he sell at that high point? Again, he's a hero card, so there was a leak right now, so that's why they're volatile. You check the sold prices, and you can see there was a one random sale at 290, but you're looking for a commonly high sold price, okay? And if you're looking at recently, in the past few hours, the highest point I'm seeing that commonly sold is about 270. There is the odd 280, but I wouldn't say there's enough 280 sales there. Like, it's very, very rare when you look at the vast majority that a high point sells at the 280, right? So like 270 will be the sell here, and because you're buying 10, you're going to be selling 10k below the high. So the high point here was 280. Because you're going to be selling for 270, let's say, because you've worked it out by the vast majority of sales around the range of the high, then you need to buy 10k below the low, right? So you need to get for 241 rather than 251. So basically make sure you allow room. So we'll look at Van Basten now. But again, I added it to my watch list because the card was still close to what I'm willing to pay for the card, right? He's only 10k off now. So we'll look at Van Basten now. He was low at 184. That card is now sold, so we'll go back to another one. He's not even low anymore either, so nothing there to watch. Check John Barnes quickly. I'll search it up and then I'll tell you guys if he's there. So yeah, there's a John Barnes on the market for 161, which I'll show you now. So you can see this card's on the market for 161. I added it to my watch list. So again, switching back to the website. Where was the cards? Alright, John Barnes, low point 160, high point 175. Now we're going to check the sold prices because we're looking how frequently does he sell at the 175, okay? And you can see here, he's achieved 175 multiple times, okay? 174, 175, 175, 173, 180, 173, 174, and they're all frequent, like they're in the past 5 to 6 hours roughly, okay? So buying at 160 here wouldn't be a bad shout, okay? You're only going to make 5k profit though. I do recommend trying to aim for the best possible profit. So maybe waiting for another undercut would be better to do because you can get below the low points in some situations, but some situations you're better to buy the card. Kind of judge it by how much you're making on the card, right? So in that example, buying at 160 and selling for 175, because you can't sell for 750, but you put that into here. You can see that you'd make after tax 6,250 coins, which is, it's okay, it's dealable with, so you could actually try and flip one of these if you wanted to. I do recommend aiming for 8 to 9k roughly at least per card. If the icons get more expensive, like above 300k, it should be at least 15k profit in my opinion. But again, the card's there for 161, it's been on the market 29 minutes. I'm going to wait for another undercut that potentially could pop up, also checking bids. But again, I'll just add it to my watch list like I have, and now I've got 4 cards here. Again, you can go check back at any time if you forget what they're worth, but simply all you got to do every few minutes is just go onto the card, and I know I want this a 123 or 124, so I can look at bids, like for example 96.5. I could try to win a few on bids if I wanted to, or I can scroll to the 59th minute on the player from compare pricing and look see if there's a 124 on the market. And again, do that to all the cards because you know they were already low. So you can see there's no VREs that will go undercut, but again, check it every few minutes because even though it sells, there can still be another undercut that could appear or an open bid that's sitting around to come into expiry, okay? You'll notice now we're starting to build a bit of a watch list of players that we know were low or close to being low. And simply all you got to do from there is compare price on them every couple of minutes. But again, just basically accumulate a list of as many players and always come back to it every update and simply refresh the page. So again, I ran another update while I was talking. It's normally every 30 minutes though. I ran another update. And you'll see the time has changed from 4:11. It should be 4:21 roughly. 4:20. And again, you can see now the skulls has popped up for 170 on the low, okay? A Gerrard for 450. So again, you can go onto FIFA. And all you're going to do, for example, Gerrard, put in 450. Check if he's still there. There's a Gerrard still on the market for 450. So now what we're going to do, again, same as what we've done previously. The high point is 495. We're going to see how regularly does he sell at that price, okay? So we're going through the list of players. We're going through the sold prices, sorry. And we can see a 495 there. 490, 495, 490, 500, 513, 510, 495. So I do believe this card can sell for the high point, right? So if I buy this card at 450 and I sell it for 495, I'm going to make 20,000 coins after tax, right? So I will actually buy that card if he's still there because it's a perfect example of a good fluctuation. He's currently at his low point, does sell for his high point. I'll aim for 495 there, which is the high, okay? When listing players, you do 1 hour listings when you're online. and you do 12-hour listings when you're going offline. If they fail a 12-hour listing, that's when you're going to lower the price to either break even after tax like that, or checking the market again and trying to see if you can make a little bit of money, but cutting, like you want to then sell it the next day after a 12-hour listing's failed. You don't want to overhold cards, okay? Just make sure when you're trading with stuff, yeah? If you're buying late into the evening, you're fine typically. You've got to sell before 6 PM when possible. But if you're trading with fluctuations during content, make sure you have referred to the latest content that came out. Say we get an icon pack SVC, then icons could be a bit volatile for about an hour or two, meaning you might want to buy a little bit below the low point, or not just assume they're going to sell for high points they might have in the past few hours, okay? Typically, they always fluctuate back though. But again, that was a perfect example. We got one at 450 because he picked it up on the update minus, and low point was 455. We've seen he could sell for 495. We saw the sold prices as you've seen. He commonly does sell at the high point, so we know we're going to achieve this. Again, go through the list of players. Pull Skulls to 170. Check if he's on the market. It's really just rinse and repeat, but again, you're going to accumulate a watch list of players whilst doing this, because you'll find deals just through looking at bids there when you compare price on them and stuff. Or you might find undercuts after like an hour or two or 15. It could be like within 5 minutes. But again, that Skulls has sold, so there's no good there. He's no longer near his low point either. I tell a lie, I think he might be. He's only a few K away from the low point. I'm going to leave this one for this example, but you could technically watch that as he's still quite close to a low point, which an undercut there for 170 or 168 would be possible, right? And again, all you would have done if it was going to be undercut to 168, before assuming you can just buy for that, make sure you check the high point and check he does sell for that. So again, we're looking for how regularly does he sell at 188. And you can see in this example, it's not common that he sells for 188, okay? The more common selling price is 180, 184, 182, 182. Yeah, so it's about 182, 184, right? So because you know you're probably not going to be able to get the high point to the exact, you might need to go 184. You need to buy it for 4K less than the low as well. So 168 to 184, which will make you about 6,000 coins, right? But again, you're working for 8,000 coin profit roughly at least there, which would mean buy for 166 rather than 168. But again, you kind of like, when it comes to assuming that, just make sure you allow enough room should the card not fluctuate. You can't just assume because they get to a high, they sell for that price. You can see they sell pretty close to their highs when they get there. But in that example, the Skulls only sells up to 184, 183, meaning that you can't buy at that low point because the profit potential is narrowed down when that has to be sold a bit cheaper. But obviously an undercut could appear. So adding that 175 to the watch list that was there, as we will. And again, we've now got 5 cards that are watched, right? And we know they're all close to their low points. And if you ever forget the price, what the low was, you can just go search it up again. But again, all you do is you compare price on the cards, check the bids. But I'm pretty bad at bidding. But if you guys remember to bid, I'm very forgetful. But if you do remember to bid, then bidding is quite a good way. But you can just go to the 59th minute and just see if there's an undercut. And again, just do that to all the players in your watch list every few minutes, like I said. But you see how we're growing with it. Our transfer list is growing, right? So we're going to start having more likeliness that an undercut will appear on them, one of them when you look, right? Again, it's pretty late at night, so the odds are I need to watch a fair few cards before I see an undercut, but you never know. So there was another 251. Was there any open bids? There's a few open bids, but they got about half an hour left. But again, if you compare price on this in half an hour's time and they're still there on the open bids pretty low, maybe you can win a bid. But you can see what we're doing is we're accumulating a watch list of players that are close to the low and then compare pricing on them. Or alternatively, using the updates to our advantage by checking the market and seeing if the card's there at a buyable price already. Not all the time. Well, just because he's in the minus doesn't mean you can buy the card, you know? Because you have to make sure they sell for the high. But again, I would recommend looking from anything in the minuses from the percentage strong all the way up to about 5%, 6%. So the reason you even look at these cards that are not quite at their low is because they're still pretty close to the low point, right? So the Torres, for example, at 232 and the low point at 219. If you go into the game, you may find an undercut already there, but you can also see he's still pretty low to that. He's still pretty close to the low point. Like 5% from the low point isn't that far. So you can see there was an undercut on Torres. He's now down to 226 since the update. So you can now add that to your watch list. And you know the card's low point, because we looked on the website, was 219, right? The high point was 251. So again, go to the sold prices. See how regularly the card is selling at or around that high point, okay? So you can see here, this card doesn't really sell for 251, okay? So he gets to it, but he doesn't sell it yet. There's a couple of sales at 245. It's between 240 and 245 for the sell price here. You can see commonly does sell for 245. There's a few 250s as well. But 245 is the more commonly high sell point, okay? Because it's happening, okay, like it's not just one off, you know? It's regularly happening 245, 247. So work out a range, but obviously don't overball your sell price, okay? So say you're going to sell for 245 here or 243, just somewhere around there. You're going to work that out. Just say 243 for the example. I'll put it to 245 for the sake of it. So you can see you're going to get 232,000 after tax. So if you buy at that low point of 220, there's still very good profit there, right? Because obviously you're going to make yourself 12,750 coins profit, which is worth your time, right? That's 5% of the number, so if you see a 220 appear via bid or snipe, because you could just compare price, but again we added it to our watch list because we know he's only 6k off, right? So the next person to sell a Torres might undercut by 6k, and then you've got yourself a deal, right? But you can see how we're growing and growing with our transfer targets and just regularly just checking for another undercut. And you will find one. I promise you, if you sit at this long enough, you'll find one. Or if you grow like when your watch list becomes like 10 to 20 cards at once, and you know they were all close to the low, you'll definitely start to find deals when you compare price. Just it can take patience, subject to the time you're looking, right? It really isn't too complicated. The typical rule of thumb is you buy at low, you sell at high, okay? But again, just make sure the card can sell for the high price, which is why the sold price history is there. If you want to use the normal page, do feel free to do that as well. But just bear in mind that that's only showing you cards that are from low to high that break even after tax. So you can see here 5%, 206 to 217. You're not making money there, right? You're breaking even. So this is only there because if you get a snipe, right? Like if you can get it for 200 on snipe or 195 on snipe, then maybe it could be good, you know? Or for example, Poyo 255 to 268, that breaks even, I'm pretty sure. So you couldn't just make money out of doing that, right? You actually lose money, right? Just it's very small. You lose very small amount, but it's not great, right? If you do that. So what you now need to assume is when you're doing it on this page, I'm assuming that you'll be looking on the market through icons, right? So typically when the icon market's higher, that's when you'll use this page, okay? Say you're just using a filter, or from the video guide in the other one. When you scroll to 59th minute, just say you've seen a Poyo. Again, the odds of that happening here will be near to impossible, but we'll just look at Poyo, for example. You'd be looking for like a 240 probably, right? And it would be a snipe if anything. It doesn't seem to happen often. And again, you'd still need to do the check that he can sell for that high point that it's showing, okay? So for example, 268. You'd have to make sure you can sell for that 268, which he does sell for 268. If you win in via auction, maybe you'll get a good deal, 248, 247, you know? And then maybe you can start considering it because it is below the low point, you know? And that does make you about 8k profit if you win it via bids. So that's why them cards there do show from 5% upwards, okay? Just make sure, if you want to make your life easier, just use the premium fluctuation because the cards there fluctuate to what you make money, right? Again, still have to check the sold prices to make sure though. So basically the things to summarize from this is you'll be checking back on the page on the update system that it's on, so every half an hour to 1 hour. If you get here on time or you do it later at night, that's when it's best. It can work during the day as well. Just bear in mind at 6 PM the content makes the cards volatile. An example where this could be is say George Best got an icon SVC, then George Best will be volatile to dropping further than what the low is, right? Because he just got a brand new SVC, which may be the alternative and cheaper to just buying him on the market. Same applies to an inform card, okay? Say someone like Kevin De Bruyne gets a brand new inform on a Wednesday, and you're looking at this at Wednesday and he's dropping in price, make sure you've considered that if that brand new inform comes out, this inform's obviously going to drop, which is why it's showing at the low point it's currently dropping. If there's nothing at 6 PM that can really affect the card, then you're typically fine to just buy at low points and sell at highs, assuming that you can sell for the high price like I've explained. But hopefully this video guide has covered everything you really need to know. Key thing is basically use premium fluctuations, unless you're using the actual market to snipe cards and stuff. Refer to each update, check the market status because it will tell you when it's crashing. If it's crashing, it will tell you to allow more flexibility anyway. It will also warn you if the market's very high, and if the market's very high, it means it's less likely to find good deals on fluctuations at the point in time, okay? It will tell you to take a break, which is probably recommended if it tells you it's too high, because you'll struggle to get good deals, okay? But again, don't be shy with selling cards, and try and be confident in what you're doing. It takes a bit of practice, but I promise you, it's how you'll get better at things just by practicing. But hopefully this has helped.